Hey, so I've been using the Oppo Reno7 Pro for the past few weeks now, even a month, and you must be wondering why I'm making this video now when the Reno7 Pro has been out for more than 6 months in some regions. But hear me out, in China, the Oppo Reno7 Pro came out sometime in December or maybe Jan of this year, whereas here it came out very recently in the UAE. It came out sometime in late March, even mid-April if you want to call it. So I've taken my time to get used to the smartphone, and here's my full review. I want to say the Reno series has been a recursive product. So it's been a product that is very similar, and there's been developments across the year that improves it slightly every single year. And on the Reno7 Pro, things are no different. This smartphone is focused on, number one, the design, and number two, the processing and the camera. And that's what I want to break into in this video. So design, this is a very thin and lightweight smartphone, and for anyone who picks it up, they're going to notice that straight away. So it's about 180 grams and 7.5 millimeters thin, and it's got this squared off look, which a lot of people prefer, including myself. This makes it very handy to use in one hand and makes it comfortable overall. The other thing is that the back of the smartphone is really unique. I don't know if you can see that in this color, but definitely in the blue Star Trails blue color, if I'm pronouncing that right, you can see that it's got this Oppo glow finish, which really makes a difference when you pull it out in public. People question what this color is and what this back is made of. And although it is glass, it is very unique. There's actually a process that it goes through, and let me overlay what Oppo does to ensure that the back is correctly produced all the way from when it's without anything all the way to its final product. So it goes from this unprocessed and unfinished back all the way to this glowing, glossy, color changing back, which I think is pretty cool. Now, the only slight drawback here is that there is no IP rating on the smartphone, which for smartphones at this price point, this is to be expected. You can get IP rated smartphones at this price tag. So this is one area where the smartphone is lacking. It doesn't mean that you can't have splashes of water on it. There is some protection inherently, but there is no official protection. So you can't go ahead and dunk this thing in water or take it to your shower. You'll have to be careful. All right, so next up, I want to talk about the display of the smartphone. And as you can probably tell already from what I'm showing you guys, this is a great display. It's a 6.55 inch Full HD Plus display, all the way flat. There is no curved design towards the edges, which personally I like. It goes well with this squared off finish and look. So it's a very, very complimentary display, if I can say so myself. And overall, using it has been very good. I can use it one-handed, like I said, and that is really what I look for in a flagship smartphone. It is an AMOLED panel, and it is 90 Hertz. So you're gonna get a smooth experience. It's not gonna be a full 120 Hertz experience, but nevertheless, I don't think you can complain about it. It's very smooth, fairly responsive throughout usage, and I have no trouble with it sort of navigating or actually watching multimedia content. You get HDR10 plus certification as well, and you get stereo speakers. So overall, in terms of legibility, in terms of usage, whether you're using it outdoors or indoors, it's pretty jam-packed. I have no complaints about the displays, and if you're someone who wants a good display without any sort of distractions all around, there is a camera right on the edge, but that doesn't get in the way as often as you'd think. So overall, really good display, thoroughly recommended. And I think we're building up towards now the processing power. Like I said, the 90 Hertz refresh rate is somewhat of a downgrade. I think 120 Hertz can easily be handled by the processor of the smartphone. So you've got the Dimensity 1200 Max by MediaTek on this thing. So it's a very, very capable processor. You can do things like multitasking, things like gaming with absolutely no problems whatsoever. Plus you've got Oppo's optimizations here. So you've got 12 gigabytes of RAM on the smartphone. With RAM Booster, you can take it up all the way to 19 gigabytes. I don't know if you need that. For me, 12 gigabytes plus 3 gigabytes is more than enough, and all of the applications I use stay in memory. When you're gaming, that too is pretty flawless. You can use pretty much any low to medium end game well. High-end gaming, you might want to crank down settings from the max one level down. Now, personally, I'm not a big fan of gaming on the smartphone, so I haven't really used it much. Although when I have used it, I have noticed that the processor heats up slightly, and this is also the case when it comes to watching extended live streams. So if you're someone who's constantly pushing the smartphone 24/7, the smartphone will heat up, and I think that is because of the processor on board. So you might want to stay careful about that. But that aside, if you're someone who wants to multitask, wants to use two applications at once, you'll have no problems with this processor, and really there is nothing to complain about. And that's why I've been really happy with this smartphone, whatever I do, whether that's navigating through maps or using multiple applications simultaneously. There's nothing on this smartphone that becomes limiting, and I think that's what a true smartphone should be like, and that's what the Oppo Reno 7 Pro has managed to do over the course of me using it. But as good as all of this experience really is, I want to touch upon the software of this smartphone. Now, yes, the software works great. For example, if you're trying to unlock the smartphone, fingerprint scanner is extremely smooth, really gels well together with the animations, all of that. Although the software hasn't been updated in a very long time. The patch that I'm running on the smartphone is ColorOS 11, Android 11, December 2021 security patch, and this is May 2022, which for a smartphone that Oppo is marketing to be sort of one level down from their flagship, and technically flagship in this region, it's a very bad thing. Now, as far as the fluidity of the software goes, yes, this is a 90 Hz display, so things are going to be a bit more fluid than usual. But comparing Oppo's ColorOS to even One UI on a 60 Hz resolution or panel, you do notice that One UI is just more polished when it comes to animations, and that's something that ColorOS can really learn from. I don't know if ColorOS 12 has implemented this on its software, but I haven't received it on this smartphone. I do hear talk about it coming very soon, sometime in May or starting of June. But consider the fact that Android 13 is already out there in the public, and we're still waiting for Android 12 on the smartphone. That's just an oversight from Oppo, which I think should be rectified as soon as possible. Now, yes, if you're someone who's used to ColorOS, you might not have these complaints, but for me, I want to have the best of everything if I'm paying a premium price tag, which this smartphone is priced at. So I would like to see Oppo work more on its software updates and make sure that they come in a timely manner, because that also differentiates Oppo from the rest. Now, Samsung does it in a very timely manner. Motorola also does it to an extent. I did talk about the Edge 30 Pro in my previous review, not getting software updates, but it's still faster than this Oppo smartphone. So you've got to really buck up Oppo if you want to keep up with the competition, because it is fierce. Right, and that brings me on to the camera performance of the phone. Now, this is a 50 megapixel camera alongside an 8 megapixel camera and a 2 megapixel macro camera. Now, I want to say the camera package overall is not the greatest, but the 50 megapixel camera on its own is very, very good. The 50 megapixel camera captures some good detail. It has a great night mode, and you can do a lot of things with Oppo's sort of software features built in. Things like AI highlight video really bring about detail when it comes to challenging situations, whether that's you facing the sun or you in a dark environment. All of that is very appreciative. But beyond the 50 megapixel camera, I think Oppo really needs to work on making this an overall package. The 8 megapixel ultra wide angle camera, yes, in good daylight can take some decent looking photos, but the quality of the pictures really drops down. The ultra wide angle camera is not something I use on a regular basis when it comes to the Reno 7 Pro, and there is no telephoto lens on the smartphone, which I think is a big drawback. The telephoto lens is something that should be present on a smartphone at this price point, and for it not to be here is just a shame. I found myself in a couple of situations now where I want to zoom into a certain subject that's a bit far away, and the 2x zoom, while adequate, doesn't get you the same detail as 2x zoom with a dedicated telephoto lens. So I think that's something that Oppo really needs to work on. And also, I've been using the Oppo smartphone for a bit, and I think one of the lenses at the back is made of plastic, because I don't know why it's been scratched up. I don't know if you can see that, but it has scratched up. I think it's one of the sensor lenses or the sensor cutout, so it's not really impacting my camera performance as such. But again, this is something that Oppo needs to address. They need to make sure that all of the materials they use on their camera package overall are premium. Now, something I do want to touch on is the 4K video. All of the highlight enhancements that I talked about, at 4K, they do not work. So this is also something that Oppo needs to work on to bring all of these features into 4K as well, to really take advantage of this high resolution. Over on the front, you're looking at a 32 megapixel selfie camera. Now, this is on the left side of the smartphone. I typically prefer cameras to be centered because it just makes for an easier selfie experience. You do have to sort of overcome this placement, but I think you can. In terms of actual camera performance, I think it's pretty good. The selfie camera does well in nighttime scenarios, but I do feel like it sort of over enhances your face a bit too much, and maybe that sways away from the natural look of your face. Now, for some, that might be great. For others, that might not be great. So this is just a middle ground that you'll need to sort of learn and adapt to. And yeah, then comes the battery. This is a 4,500 milliamp hour battery on the smartphone. And this is one area where I've been really impressed. I think the Dimensity 1200 Max chip really pushes the smartphone when it comes to this, because in terms of battery backup, the smartphone is one of the better ones out there, if not the best, because it gives you really reliable backup. I could wake up at 7 a.m. in the morning with the smartphone off the charger, and I could use it intensively on 5G up until 12 a.m. and it would still be at like 20 or even 15%, which I think is absolutely incredible, with 6 to 7 hours of screen on time being the norm on the smartphone. So in terms of battery backup, you're gonna have no issues whatsoever. The one time I really pushed this smartphone was when I was doing a trip from Dubai to Abu Dhabi, and I had to keep the navigation on for the entire trip, and the trip took 2 hours going and 2 hours coming back, and that really drained the battery up until like around 30% during midday, which is to be expected. The screen is on, it's using 5G and navigation, so 4 hours to 4.5 hours of screen on time, even at that sort of intense usage, is pretty good. So I don't think you'll have any complaints with the battery on the smartphone. And plus, you've got very quick charging. It's got 65-watt charging, and you can go from 0 to 100% in just 31 minutes. So oftentimes I just put it to charge for a couple of minutes and I get about 15 to 20% very quickly. And I think that really is the beauty of the Reno 7 Pro and sort of makes it a key selling point, a key feature if you want that kind of battery backup. All right, so that's my experience with the Oppo Reno 7 Pro 5G. While I was talking about the design of the smartphone, I forgot to mention that it's got this LED notification ring around the camera bump, which I think is pretty cool for your notifications. I have them off for the most part, so I haven't used it as much as, you know, a typical consumer would, but basically whenever you get a notification, this thing turns on and it alerts you of a notification. It's pretty cool novelty, and it might be something that you learn to live with and for you to glance to your smartphone and see if you've got notifications. But that aside, I think this smartphone is really for those who like design and who like great battery life. Compared to the Galaxy S21 FE, I think the battery life on this smartphone is more reliable, and I think the design of this smartphone, especially with how premium it feels, definitely outweighs the Galaxy S21 FE. But for things like IP68 certification, wireless charging support, a telephoto lens, as well as 120 Hz resolution display, I think the Galaxy S21 FE should be your better choice for the same price tag. So thanks for watching this one. Do let me know what you guys think down in the comments below, and make sure to follow me on all my socials and subscribe for more videos coming very soon. This was Vaibhav, and I'll see you in the next one. Adios.